In a tank in Brazil, an octopus is sleeping. Its skin is pale, its eyes are closed, and then, without warning, its body begins to dance. Waves of color sweep across its skin, black, then orange, then a pattern of stripes that lasts only a second. Scientists have been arguing for years about what this means. Welcome to Wild Mind. Today we look inside a brain unlike any other on this planet. 500 million neurons, 8 semi-independent thinking arms, a skin that may see without eyes. Stay until point 6. That is the one most people find hardest to believe. Start with the simplest question. What is an octopus doing when it sleeps? For most of biological history, the answer was assumed to be nothing. A mollusk. A soft body with no skeleton. A lineage that diverged from ours more than 600 million years ago. The assumption was that there was simply nothing inside worth dreaming with. Then, a doctoral student in Brazil decided to watch. Her name is Silvia Medeiros. Her supervisor, the neuroscientist Siddhartha Ribeiro. Their lab, the Brain Institute at the Federal University of Rio Grande do Norte. They studied 4 adult specimens of Octopus insularis. Cameras pointed at the tanks, recording continuously, for weeks. And what the footage revealed surprised them. The octopus did not sleep in one continuous state. It cycled between 2 distinct phases, just like us. The first phase they called quiet sleep. The animal pale, motionless, pupils contracted to thin lines. And then, every 40 minutes or so, a second phase would arrive. They called it active sleep, and it lasted about a minute, no more. During active sleep, the octopus's eyes flickered behind closed lids. Its arms twitched, its breathing accelerated, and its skin began to perform. Pale, then mottled, then a flash of dark stripes, then a burst of orange, then a pattern only ever seen during waking hunts, all in a single minute, while the octopus slept. Medeiros and Ribeiro published their findings in the journal iScience. The conclusion was carefully worded. Quote, "We cannot say that octopuses dream. They cannot tell us. But during active sleep, the animal enters a state analogous to the phase in which humans dream the most. REM sleep, rapid eye movement, the neurological signature of dreaming. Until that paper, it had been considered a vertebrate phenomenon. Mammals, birds, maybe lizards. Now there was a mollusk in the picture, and the mollusk in the picture was changing color while it dreamed, which raised a question nobody could quite answer. What does an octopus dream of? To even begin to approach that question, you have to understand what an octopus is, anatomically, neurologically. And the truth is, it does not have a brain in the way we use that word. An octopus has 500 million neurons. That is roughly the same number as a dog. But here is the strange part. Only 1/3 of those neurons sit in the central brain ring around the esophagus. The rest are in the arms. 330 million neurons, distributed across 8 semi-independent limbs. Each arm carries its own ganglia, its own nerve cord, its own local processing power. Researchers at the Hebrew University, led by the neurobiologist Benjamin Hochner, have spent decades studying how this distributed system works. And what they found is unsettling. The arm of an octopus, when severed in a laboratory, can continue to solve problems, for up to an hour, without any input from the central brain. It can reach toward food, it can avoid pain, it can grip and release. It is not just twitching, it is thinking, with its own local nervous system, even after it has been disconnected from the body it belongs to. This is not how nervous systems are supposed to work, at least not the kind we evolved. In a vertebrate, the brain sits at the top of the spine. All information flows up to it. All decisions flow down from it. In an octopus, the central brain is a donut shape wrapped around the esophagus, and it has, by some estimates, only loose oversight of what the arms are actually doing. An octopus does not direct its arms the way you direct your fingers. It releases them. It lets them solve their local problem, and it integrates the result. The philosopher Peter Godfrey Smith, who has spent more time underwater with octopuses than most biologists, puts it like this. Quote, "The octopus lives outside the usual divide between body and brain." End quote. The arms are not extensions of the mind. The arms are part of the mind. Which leads to one of the most disturbing implications in modern animal cognition research. The mind of an octopus may not be a single thing. It may be a federation. But before we go further into what kind of mind that is, we need to look at what that mind can actually do. In 2009, in the murky volcanic sediment off the coast of Indonesia, a biologist named Julian Finn was filming on the seafloor when he noticed something he could not initially explain. A small octopus. The species was Amphiooctopus marginatus, roughly the size of a coffee mug. It was carrying something. Two halves of a coconut shell, one under each side of its body, tucked beneath its arms like luggage. And it was walking, not swimming, not crawling, walking, on four arms held out stiff like stilts, while it carried the coconut shells across the open seafloor. Finn watched, and eventually he understood. The octopus was not using the shells for anything in that moment. It was carrying them for later. When threatened, the octopus would stop, assemble the two halves into a closed shell around itself, and hide inside a portable shelter it had brought with it. The study, by Julian Finn, Tom Tregenza, and Mark Norman, was published in Current Biology in 2009. They called it Defensive Tool Use in a Coconut-Carrying Octopus. And here is why it mattered. Tool use, on its own, is not that rare. Crows do it, chimpanzees do it, otters do it. But carrying a tool, acquiring it now, to use later, in a future situation, that is something else. That requires the animal to imagine a moment that has not yet happened. It requires planning, and planning, until that paper had not been documented in any invertebrate, anywhere, ever. A relative of the cuttlefish would later be shown to wait, to resist immediate food, in order to receive better food later. The Schnell study, published in 2021. Common cuttlefish, Sepia officinalis, waiting up to 130 seconds, a score comparable to chimpanzees. But the strangest finding, the one that genuinely changed the field, is what the octopus can do with its skin. An octopus changes color faster than almost any other animal on Earth, in under a second, from pale sand to mottled coral to deep red to a perfect imitation of the rock behind it. The mechanism is well documented. Tiny pigment sacs in the skin called chromatophores, each one controlled by a ring of muscle, each muscle wired to a nerve. The octopus contracts the muscles, the sac expands, the skin changes. Roger Hanlon, Marine Biological Laboratory, Woods Hole. He has spent more than 30 years documenting how cephalopods do this in the wild. But Hanlon and his collaborators found something nobody expected. There are light-sensitive proteins in the skin itself, the same opsins that line the retina of the eye, in cuttlefish, in octopus. In laboratory tests, isolated patches of octopus skin, disconnected from the brain, responded to light. The chromatophores expanded on their own. The phenomenon has a name: light-activated chromatophore expansion. And what it suggests is something far stranger than camouflage. The skin of an octopus may be sampling the environment, reading it, and responding, without the brain ever being involved. Which raises a question that has not been answered, and may never be. If the skin can see, what does it see with? Because the octopus eye, the eye in the head, cannot perceive color. An octopus is colorblind, and yet, it produces the most precise color camouflage of any animal known, matching tones it cannot see, reproducing patterns its eyes cannot perceive. How it does this? The current best guess is that the octopus reads its environment through its skin, and then paints the skin to match. Seeing with the skin, thinking with the arms, dreaming in color. And we have not even discussed what kind of personality each individual animal turns out to have. Jennifer Mather, professor of psychology, University of Lethbridge. She has been publishing on octopus behavior since the late 1970s. And the question her career has revolved around is simple. Are octopuses individuals, or are they instances of a species? Mather and her collaborators ran a battery of standardized tests across 21 common octopuses. A startle test, a foraging test, a disturbance test. And the data was consistent. Each animal scored differently, and each animal scored consistently. Across all three tests, over time, 3 dimensions emerged from the analysis: alertness, exploration, boldness. Each octopus, a different blend. Aquarium keepers had been describing this informally for decades. One octopus is shy, another is mischievous, a third is calm, a fourth, the one that escapes. 2016. The National Aquarium of New Zealand. A male common octopus named Inky found his tank lid slightly open one night, climbed out, crossed the floor, located a 50-meter drain pipe that emptied into Hawke's Bay. And he was gone, out into the open ocean, never seen again. The keeper said only one thing. Inky was the bold one. All of which raises the question we started with. What does an octopus actually have inside it? What kind of mind is this? Our line and the octopus line split on the evolutionary tree more than 600 million years ago. Before there were eyes as we know them, before there were brains, two lineages, two completely separate experiments in the construction of a mind. Both arrived at intelligence. Both arrived at problem solving. Both arrived at something that looks, from the outside, very much like sleep and dreaming. But the architecture is utterly different. We carry our minds in the spine and skull. The octopus carries its mind distributed across every limb, across every patch of skin, across an entire body that may be sampling the world even when the central brain is asleep. Godfrey Smith called it the closest thing on Earth to meeting an intelligent alien. And looking at the evidence, he may be understating it. So we come back to the tank in Brazil, and the sleeping animal, and the color that flickers across its mantle. We may never know what it sees in there, but the color is doing something. The pattern is being painted by an internal state we cannot reach. And if it is a dream, then the dreamer is not very much like us at all. What an octopus dreams of. We can guess. A reef, a current, a hunt, a predator, the taste of a crab. But what it dreams of the geometry of the experience, the shape of the thinking, that we will probably never share. An octopus is not simply intelligent. It is intelligent in a way fundamentally alien to our own, with its skin, with its arms, with its dreams. If this changed the way you see the ocean, subscribe to Wild Mind. Tell me in the comments if you could ask an octopus a single question, and it could answer. What would you ask? I read every one. These are the ones I carry longest.